What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Roots. So I'm going to review a 2010 mixtape by MGK. Basically this project is called Lace Up. Basically the Lace Up mixtape, and it came out in the fall of 2010. So the thing about it here is just the fact that MGK kind of had like the format of doing like a bunch of mixtapes back in like the mid 2000s and early 2010s as far as those pitches gonna happen. Now I want to say he dropped at least possibly 2 other mixtapes in 2010. This is pretty much like the breakout mixtape that started getting him a lot more notoriety, as he definitely was a lot more set forth in 2011. Now he was pretty set forth here, just the pitch behind it. There's a lot of great hooks on here. This is a lot for a mixtape. This feels like an appeal of a project that feels like it could be album quality, and this is just a pitch because this is like the mixtape before the mixtape. I think the mixtape that caught him regional attention, just overall appeal in terms of having like being signed and stuff, was obviously Rage Pack from the fall of 2011. But that was pretty much like the instantaneous kind of appeal with charting singles like Wild Boy and some of those type pitches, and I want to say Invincible, some of those type ones. Some of those songs from Rage Pack wound up on the Lace Up album. But this was like the project that I think was like the next closest thing. This is another one that was really brewing here, that this was kind of showcased. When you pay attention to like the pitch behind this particular project here, this is a great example of something that just had the showcase of just saying, I mean, I do realize that Rage Pack had a lot more appeal in terms of like the instantaneous, like he needs to be signed, but this is definitely not anything to shake a stick at in terms of like the appeal, as far as saying that it definitely has the aspect of being separate from like the standard just kind of like folk that would not be as full-blown signed. This has the appeal. There's a lot of radio ready hooks on here, a lot of over commercial kind of commerce and pitch like that. Pretty dredgy type project just to be able to get here, and it kind of combines a number of styles, like 2 particular styles. There's at least 2 or 3 particular styles that I saw on here. MGK does have like some alternative, almost rap rock type feels. It's not really like there's rap rock songs on here, but it's just kind of within the pitch that MGK is like the alternative to Eminem in certain senses. That had to say just kind of the appeal more being like within, not necessarily the hot topic full blown type crowd, but definitely within the pitch around this time of just saying just a little bit more of like an alternative, like vanilla raps for those pitches gonna happen. I look after it. Some of the styles that this particular product reminded me of is definitely, it reminds me of T.I.'s Paper Trail, just that pitch, like that summer kind of this more thought-provoking type energy. Not so much King by T.I. or T.I. versus T.I.P. or trap music, some of those type ones, but definitely like the style of like Paper Trail, with songs like Whatever You Like and Live Your Life and No Matter What. Some of those type pitches that just a little bit more, not necessarily hard on your sleeve, but just kind of the pitch, and just a little bit more like songs with a message, and just a little bit, I mean, this is a pretty like motivating, like the concept of Lace Up is just the quality with like the Lace Up album, from what I remember, is Lace Up, get to it, get to the money within the pitch, but just like a little bit more of kind of like a more traditional kind of suburban type snap about it. But you look after it, like Paper Trail had some of those type songs on there, just a more Hustlers makeshift. Paper Trail had some uplifting songs on there as far as this pitch can happen, and this particular song has that particular template as well. It also is pretty similar to Eminem's Recovery. There's some songs on here like End of the Road and like Lead You On, and some of these types of ones, and certain ones like that. There's probably some other ones on here like Fantasy, some of those type of ones that just kind of have like the pitch and just being pretty similar to Eminem with Recovery from like the summer of 2010, to some of those pop rap type blends of not necessarily biting like the style of songs like Love the Way You Lie, but just a similar type pitch as it advanced and evolved that particular sound that was particularly transformed throughout like the early 2010s. So between those two ones, Paper Trail, Recovery, with a little bit of Hollywood Undead on here, there is at least one song that I particularly enjoy that has some good pitches for that, that just had like All Alone is a pretty nice pitch for that. There might be like one other song, something like that on here. But it's a pretty compacted mixtape. It's just impacted, not only is this pop rap ready and a very vanilla mixtape to kind of get in terms of like some radio appeal with like some ones that are free music that just have like that just appeal that is sing-songable pitches like that, but it's also the aspect as far as having some pretty good balance on here, just the aspect of like some mixtape grit with songs like Nelly's similar songs like Midwest Side, Wiz Khalifa's similar songs like I Know, more kind of J-Rock and just kind of more bravado type songs put on for your city type vibes like Cleveland, and some of those type of pitches, and Victory music, I'd have to say. So it's just a good concept of having some of that traditional romping type music. You do get some summer romps on here, relatively summery type project, just with an aspect behind it, just typical type fare, just chigger type music, pitches like that, standard smoking, like just behind buildings, smoke behind like a Taco Bell, something like that. Some of those type of fairs, just within the pitch of just being able to get like some snacks and goodies and just traditional kind of summer frolic, just within the sense behind it, just in the aspect, real tight flair. But there's not really like a single off this project. If I had to guess, it might be Stereo, which was also like one of the singles off of the Lace Up album from 2012. So it's just within the pitch as far as being able to say that. I just look within the aspect as far as those flares kind of happen with it. But basically, out of 16 songs on this project, I wound up recommending at least 11 full blown plus 2 almost songs. One of the almost songs is Stereo, and the reason why it's an almost song is because it's already on like Lace Up the album, which the thing about Lace Up the albums, I reviewed that way back in 2015 when this channel first kicked off, as far as those pitches gonna happen. Now I gave Lace Up like a lot lower score back in 2015. I probably give it a lot higher score nowadays. Pretty impactful type album, be able to get a lot of gems on there. But basically, Make It is an almost song here, so let's go ahead and talk about this one. Basically, Make It is like a vintage kind of early 2010s Young Money style pop rap to kind of get here. Just a solid pep song, I had to say, but it's almost too bubbly. Just within the pitch, I like the tone of this particular song within a relative direction of it, but it's just one of those type ones that this is really, this is really kind of like not full blown hard on your sleeve, but just within the pitch of just kind of being almost hammy within the sense of just kind of having the concept that it's just one of those type of ones. There are I do feel like there's necessities for songs like this for folks that are having bad or just ruffled days. This pitch like that just kind of give you some cheer and just optimism as far as those pitches kind of happen, but it's just kind of within the tone that it's just almost unctuous within the tone behind it. So I'd say unctuous like it's like a negative, but it's just within the tone as far as saying that it's just it's kind of like when like there can be such a thing as too cheery. It's just within the aspect, if you're not in the mood for like relative cheer, it just doesn't have as much pep as far as getting towards it. It's a good motivational song within a sense, but it just is real kind of just, it's just really like some bubbly kind of pop rap, just in the sense of just kind of having like a lot of this, like this rambunctiousness about it, just within the tone, it's just within the aspect. But it works for like certain pitches, but not every single day of the week. I'd have to say, just in the tone. It's just it's a good. I like the direction that I was going with this. That's the tone as far as those pitches can happen. So yeah. Basically, the only 3 songs I don't recommend off this project would just be Fantasy, The Return, and Salute. And talk about these, basically, The Return had some decent dredge on there. This is kind of like a good evening dredge type song within a relative sense, but I just feel like it probably should have had a hook on there. I don't know why MGK kind of went just on like a 4.5-minute verse as far as this pitch can happen. That would probably, it just wasted like a good production into something that could have been like a pretty good song that could have had something on there. I feel like that could have been a decent topic for just like a standard evening dredge, or just getting like snacks or goodies, just a good makeshift type song that could have happened, but it's turned into like a relative verse. And it's kind of the same thing with like Salute within that relative pitch. This one's a shorter song, but it's just kind of within the pitch behind it. It's just kind of like some motivational on the upswing kind of kickstart, kind of get within that tone. But it just, I feel like this is another one that probably need to be within the song format, have something like a hook or just something that could have happened just within the tone behind it. Just within the pitch, there's just some of these type ones that just kind of felt like missed opportunities within the tone. It's not so much that they're bad songs or bad productions, it's just kind of the fact that the format of these songs is just not as catching. And then Fantasy was just kind of an awkward type one. Now this is one of these ones that, like, this is a worse version of a song like Make It. I'd have to say there's some ones on here that kind of do that. There's a lot of dreamy, kind of starry-eyed type songs on here, and I realize the aspect of this having like the tone of just realizing that you got to have some of that pep for folks as far as that particular kind of goes. This is not really like a stormy type project. This is really not like a project that just like gloom and more. Like MGK got a lot moodier later. There are some songs on here like Lead You On and Been Through. Yeah, there are some songs like Lead You On and Been Through It All and End of the Road, some of those type pitches, but this does have on the other side of the coin like some balminess or some bubbliness on here. Songs like Stereo, Victory Music, Make It, Fantasy, some of these type ones, but Fantasy was just one that didn't nail it. Fantasy was just one that didn't nail it nearly as well. I'd have to say within the tone behind it. It's just within the fair as far as those pitches can happen. But I look after it. So yeah, I'm gonna give this mixtape me recommending full blown. I recommend at least 12 songs. I would say relatively. I recommend at least 11 songs full blown. Salute is the almost song just because it's on another project, just being able to say, but I do like that song and recommend it. So that would be 12 here and there. And then the Make It song is what I'm on the fence about. So basically, approximately, 11 and a half, 12 and a half out of 16. I'm going to give this mixtape like a 9 out of 10 just within the flair. I just look after it. If it had been 12 out of 16 and that 12th song had not been Salute, but it would have been another song that wouldn't have been on any other project, it would be like a 9.25. If it had been 13 out of 16 and I recommended make it, it would have been a 10. So it's just in the pitch. It's just going to get a solid 9, dope enough within the pitch behind. Definitely some clever stuff, very impactful. I mean, this mixtape is definitely to be appreciated here, just in the aspect as far as saying, just in the tone of the balance that it kind of has some great songs within the pitch, has some templates that definitely knocks out within some vicious type of appeal. Just the overall aspect, just nailing a lot of these styles. MGK is a pretty rapid spitting lyricist. MGK is a pretty rapid spitting lyricist as far as those pitch can happen. So he does have the thrills to being able to have some great times with some of these type ones. He's not a dull lyricist just in the pitch behind it. He does have like the tones of being able to have some of these type moments. So it's just within the flair behind that. Let's look at it. Has some good type moments on here. Just some overall good appeal. So we'll get to some of these. So Cleveland is a nice one. This is like a high bravado kind of city anthem to kind of get here. Good rep where you from type tune to kind of get within that. This reminds me of Win by J-Rock, even though that came out 8 years later. Just in the pitch behind it. Win by J-Rock came out in 2018, just in the pitch, but this is a good flex song kind of get here. Just some basic stunt and victory lap type music, I'd say, within the tone. Good type of appeal. I do like some of these put on for your city type flares. MGK was from Ohio, it's just within the pitch behind it, so it's a good type one to have for some of those relative type days back when Jeezy's put on was still relatively fresh in folks' minds. Some of those type flares. Folks don't commonly do that as much nowadays. You don't get like those put on for your city type tunes. Definitely needs to happen more. That has Double on there, which is MGK's wingman. Good type pitch, kind of get him on there. Midwest Side is a pretty nice one. It's like a dreary kind of summer evening haze kind of get here. This reminds me of like early 2000s Nelly in like a super swamp kind of sense, I'd have to say. It's kind of that aspect of getting some of that. Definitely like some Chigger type music. Just talk about running, just like the evening dredge, just pitches like that. Kind of reminds of like this overall malaise of something that like Alien Ant Farm or like Papa Roach would kind of do on one of their alternative metal type songs, just in a more rap type sense. It really has the tune behind it. So it's just some good type summer hops kind of get within that tone as far as this pitch kind of happen. Definitely like Gordita type music pitches like that, I'd have to say. I would say that Lead You On is a nice one here. It's like a real talk kind of taste of everyday living type feel to kind of get on this particular song. Just a sobering kind of blue collar commute to have within that pitch, and it barely feels like a mixtape type song within the fare behind it. So it's just some good type of appeals for some of this. These are some of these type of ones just within the aspect of just saying that this is some vicious type aspects kind of get here. This kind of switches the, like, definitely there's songs like Cleveland and Midwest Side, some of those type ones, songs like I Know, songs like Victory music on here, but within the same sort of pitch, it switches the tone to kind of have like some mixtape, blue collar, just in the sense behind it, just the aspect of having some of these type ones. If you need more songs like Lead You On, I'd probably say that like Been Through It All is a nice one for that. I'd probably say that All Alone kind of is within a relative sense. End of the Road is one of those type of ones, just some pitches like that. There's some good type of appeals for that on here. I mean, more of these are kind of in like the Recovery by Eminem type sense. Like I feel like Lead You On's one of those Eminem type ones, and End of the Road is one of those Eminem type ones. But some of the ones that are kind of more in the paper trail type vibes are also relative makeshift. This is kind of been a little bit more of like an urban sense just behind it. I feel like this does have like relative makeshift vibe about it, just within the pitch of just kind of having the tone of just liking mixtapes, but still having some of those type ones that just having like relative vanilla aspects about it. So it's just within the pitch having that vanilla bite about it. I Know is a quality one here. This is like a fizzy kind of Wiz Khalifa like hook on this particular song. Real good appeals about this. This is like some good pop rap commerce kind of get here. Definitely one of these ones that reminds me of Paper Trail, like I was saying. It's like a light lick kind of club marinate to kind of get here. Just definite T.I. vibes from Paper Trail, definitely. It's like some good dance frog to kind of have just an initial kind of bop of just like the initial kind of bop of like the conduct of just those initial type moments, and just entry kind of dap getting as far as those pitch can happen. Just mapping out a Bella to chat with as far as those pitch can happen. Just good type tone for some of that type of appeal. This kind of the fizzy type appeal, just like this standard, just vanilla-ness of just club marination. I have to say it's kind of the fizzy kind of vanilla-ness of just like club marination, just basking as far as those pitch can happen with a good type tone for that. That's some good type tones. So Chip Off the Block is a nice one here. Now this is a retro type one. I think this is more of a throwback to like this 2000s type days. It's like a more brooding kind of vintage mid 2000s mixtape lyricism cut to kind of get here. It's a rapid fire spit on this particular song. Great song to while out to and snacks as far as this pitch kind of happen with it. Now, the DJ does particularly show up on this particular song, just in the pitch. You don't commonly get the DJ as much on here as just within the tone, but I do like the aspect. This is one of those more type ones that just feels like a vintage mixtape from like this 2000s type fare. It's just in the pitch behind. There's not a ton of songs like this on this particular type fare. This is actually pretty trendy and contemporary to like the early 2010s. Pulls off a lot of styles between like mid late 2008 to about mid late 2008 to about throughout 2010. I'd have to say, but that was just one that has like more vintage like DJ Drama, Can't Ban the Snowman, Trap or Die, and Dedication type days. This is in the pitch behind. It's a good type fare because MGK was around back in those days. Just in a lot more underground sense. Like Alice in Wonderland, I don't know if I talked about this one, but this is one of the best songs on the tape. I'd say really appreciated this one. It's like a slogged and hella warped kind of evening malaise kind of get here. Just a great swampy beat. I would definitely feel like, and definitely some hypnotic doom about this one. It's a real contemplative type one. It's kind of a concept, but just like that standard rumination that Eminem and some of those type folks, Tech Nine, some of those type folks kind of do, just within the concept of just kind of having like some dredge about it, just in a more druggy type sense that has, I suppose, just a good concept to kind of have some of that type relative makeshift type of appeal, but just kind of having like fun with it. It's not so much like a sobering kind of mixtape type song. It's just one of those pitches of just being able to have like the aspect of just standard, just gelling along with like the standard traditions and just responsibilities, tasks, that sort of fare, but just in the aspect of having like just having some recreation just within the tone behind it, but still within a relative kind of paranoia or just contemplation type mode with this. So it's a good type of song for that. Real good appeals. All Alone is a nice one. This is like a blend of pop rap with like an alternative kind of Hollywood Undead type hook. This Colin Hilton dude really feels like Danny from like Hollywood Undead just within the pitch behind it. Real good type of appeal. It's like a basic kind of jury contemplative. It's like some basic kind of jury contemplate. So this one goes pretty well with Alice in Wonderland. That same sort of appeal behind that kind of slag kind of dredge about it. It's a pretty hot song to kind of get here. It's excellent aspect once again off of mixtape. Some of these type fares just feel like this should be for retail pitches like that. Some good type tunes. This is one of the most alternative songs on this product. And I'd probably say Alice in Wonderland's another one like that. There's actually not a ton of these like that on here, but it's a good type of appeal to get some of these. But I don't know if I talked about this one, but Victory Music is very similar to Cleveland, just within the pitch. It's like a vanilla kind of mixtape bravado here, I'd have to say. It just gives T.I. Paper Trail vibes, definitely. Very radio ready, I'd have to say here. And it's like a basic kind of pop rap, day slide kind of get within that tone. So it's just within the pitch. If you really thoroughly enjoy songs like Live Your Life and Whatever You Like, and you definitely should within those aspects, whatever you like, no matter what, is some of those type of appeals from like the Paper Trail days. I would definitely say this is like a cousin of that particular type of stuff, just in a more kind of relative early 2010s type style. So it's just a good type pitch kind of have for some of that type of appeal. Most of this product is relatively commercial. This has the aspect of these hooks on here. We're aiming for the radio. This is not, despite the fact that MGK was underground around this time, it just felt like he was going to break even. And a lot of these could be songs that you could play and you would think, oh, this is new MGK, but the reality of it is, or where would some folks might think, where did this song come from? Is this a song? Where was this a single? Is this on the radio? It's just kind of the concept that a lot of this music raises questions just within the tone, just because the pitch behind it. These hook artists really give MGK some great hooks on here. It's just the concept, like a lot of these folks are just a lot more low key. Some folks on here, Sean McGee, Brittany Elise, Alex of the Kick Drums, Matt Musto, Aaron Lafette, Cherry Dennis, Colin Hilton, some of these types of people. It's just an aspect. Ray Jr. is that say it, but it's a good concept. Just questioning if MGK would have gotten like a T-Pain hook or like an Usher hook or a Neo hook, something like that, and they just wouldn't have given them as much full blown as far as those pitch can happen. Just in the aspect, but the hook artist really came through. A lot of excellent commercialness about this, especially for a mixtape. What it seems is a real vicious type one. Even Dubbo is able to nail these hooks pretty well. It's an interesting aspect because I wasn't expecting him to do like a pop rap kind of R&B type hook, good type of appeal, that he was able to nail this well. But I would say what it seems is like a syrupy kind of highlight, and this is it's definitely one of the tape's most infectious songs that I'd say. Great Dubbo hook, like I was saying, it's like a woozy kind of club embrace. So this one goes pretty well with like I Know, some of those type of ones. There's another one on here I'm trying to think of within the pitch, but there are some relative type ones for like dance club type appeals on here. I want to say at least that may actually be it. There may only be like really two dance club type songs within the pitch behind it. This is something in like more in like the fizzy kind of whatever you like type vibes, but it's just some good type appeals for that. Yeah, so what it seems is just a nice highlight to kind of get for like some basic club hopping pitches like that, just in a relative vanilla type sense. Just some good type tunes for that. Just really like the vibe, just like that standard pop rap type frolic of just T.I. Paper Trail and pitches like that. There's probably some other ones like B.O.B.'s Adventures of B.O.B. from 2010 to some of those club hop like lick type ones, kind of get just good type tone for that. And then End of the Road is a pretty nice one as well, in like a more real talk type sense. It's like a sobering kind of pop rap commerce kind of get here, just similar to Eminem Recovery. I would definitely feel like it's like a grand radio grab to kind of get here, very moody type pitch kind of get within that. It just has the aspects of switching to like the more alternative metal and just more pop rock, and this kind of, I mean, this is a relatively good avenue just because apart from Eminem, there weren't a ton of folks really nailing this particular aspect. Like I would almost say Gym Class Heroes, which to talk, I need to start getting to them, but Gym Class Heroes was kind of doing songs like this back in like, I want to say 2008 and 2011 as far as those pitches can happen. I don't know it's full bound, but that's about the only other folk I could really think of that was kind of doing like these pop rock, kind of pop rap type, just more vanilla type blends of some of that type stuff with Eminem Recovery type style. Apart from Eminem, I'd have to say just within the pitch. I mean, NF started doing it later, other folks started doing it. Just really like it took off like wildfire later throughout the 2010s. But MGK was definitely one of the most immediate ones that kind of did, and these are definitely some ones on here. And the type pitch. And I think there's at least another one I haven't talked about with Been Through It All. It's like a gritty kind of vintage early 2010s mixtape grind to kind of get here. Definitely has some breakthrough appeal about this particular one. It's like some basic, definitely has some breakthrough appeal to kind of get here, and it's like a basic kind of makeshift kind of get within that pitch behind it. Been Through It All is one of those traditional type ones that like Meek Mill and Rick Ross would kind of do, just like that mixtape grit. And this is a little bit more of like Dat Piff type. This is more traditional hustlers makeshift type style. Kind of get within that tone behind it. It's good to get some of these type ones to do like the grit and appeal. Definitely think MGK need another one like this. That's kind of the concept. Is just like probably want to like. I definitely feel like MGK needed another song like Wild Boy on Rage Pack's kind of the pitch. I think this particular product needed another song like Been Through It All. But within the pitch, it does have an excellent balance on here. A lot of good appeals for a lot of these aspects on here as far as those fairs can happen. But it's just within the pitch that this is more kind of like Meek Mill style. Just within the pitch behind as far as Been Through It All kind of goes. That's the pitch. So I think that basically takes care of all the songs on this product that I recommend, just in the tone behind us. So yeah, this mixtape gets a 9 out of 10. The social score, I'll go ahead and give a 10 out of 10. I just think the aspect behind it is just that vicious, just within the appeal. I think even, for the most part, MGK is pretty commonly known. He's a pretty trendy type dude, especially in like the early 2020s. He kind of was pretty done. He's had a number of, like, MGK's had like a number of explosive type tangents to kind of get within that tone between the Eminem beef and like his pop rap type appeals with songs that he did with Camilla Cabello and some of those type folks from Bloom and some of those type pitches. Just a lot of good aspects. Lace Up was a pretty big deal. He was signed to Bad Boy. Pitches like that. He had some good mixtapes. Did some alternative rock pretty well with like Hotel Diablo pitches like that. So he has pretty just overall aspect of a lot of good varietized type projects here just within the pitch, and even his mixtapes were pretty excellent within that fair. So it's a good type tone, a lot of commercial bite, a lot of excellent hooks on here, a lot of good appeal, some summer frolics, some makeshift dredge, some club hoppers, some pitches like that. The templates of Paper Trail and Recovery work extremely well within those pitches, and they're just nailed pretty damn well within the aspect of doing it. So it just has the varietized, this real impactful type mixtape that barely feels like a mixtape. Definitely deserves a tone behind it. So it's just within the pitch. So yeah, I recommend this mixtape. Pretty damn well full blown, I'd say. Just with a minor few snags and like some of the songs I didn't recommend, but just within the pitch. So in terms of the future, like MGK has not been around since 2022. He might have, I think actually he dropped like an album to what I remember with Trippie Redd. That's something that came out, I want to say, in like early 2024. Maybe it was 2023 within the pitch. Don't really full blown remember. But that's the most recent thing I could think of. But he like I am eventually going to get to Mainstream Sellout and then the Trippie Redd Project, some of those type ones. But I do want to get to some of these MGK type mixtapes, and there is another one that was kind of an EST mixtape that I want to get to within those tons. So there's some ones in there. This is like a virtual classic. Definitely impact of it is more classic than like, it's definitely like a virtual classic. It just has tons and tons of hits on here. Pretty good frog just in the aspect. A lot of good just makeshift and just overall urban and just contemporary type stuff to kind of get within that tone. So it's just very impactful and definitely an overlooked type one worth checking, looking into.